guys, it's Will again, Music Protest, and today we are doing a live stream all about Ableton Voice Box, which I think is kind of an unusual sound pack. We're not used to maybe getting drum racks. We're used to getting more traditional instrument racks with synth patches, things like that. Maybe a lot of one-shots and loops that are instrumental, so it's sort of, I don't know, a little more typical to get that kind of content. But here, everything's vocal. And I think this will, for me at least, recently I've been working on some tracks that I'm trying to add, like, I'm trying to add a vocal element, but that's not really in like my wheelhouse to perform myself. And I'm not even really trying to get, lyrics recorded. I'm just trying to get some kind of vocal accents. So I wanted to look at Voice Box, and it's new with Ableton 11. I just got it a few months ago when I got Ableton 11, and I've been wanting to check it out and see how I could use it. So let's go over to my desktop and check out what Ableton thinks of this, right? So Ableton talks about this as a pack featuring comprehensive collection of contemporary vocal samples, multiple voices, set of playable vocal instruments, and effect racks designed for vocal processing. So we've actually got quite a lot here. We got 138 presets, 4 live sets, which we'll listen to some of those. Look at, and they're usually the same as the demos here, and 113 live clips, and then they had mentioned vocal instruments, so I guess this 138 presets is going to be that, along with, I guess, effect racks. So let's see, what do they talk about? Through sampling and audio processing, we can use it in more creative ways, chopped and repitched. So I'm going to look at how I can do this, how I can use their samples, maybe chop them up, and create some different musical effects with them, and walk you guys through that using just tools built into Ableton. Let's look at the description a bit more. So there's male and female vocals, delivery for your work with samples of diverse singing styles. So we'll see how many styles, like what really the range is. So 82 vocal instrument racks. So those would be effects you'd use, I assume, for vocal processing. So if you had vocals recorded or you were using the samples that come with this pack, these vocal instrument racks I guess you could use them to like write vocal parts. Vocal percussion, drum racks, that's kind of interesting. MIDI clips, demo sets, vocal samples, 1,100 vocal samples. So it's got to be a pretty broad range of stuff in there. They're making the impression to me that this is going to have one shots as well as some loops. What do they think this goes well with? Additive FM, subtractive synthesis in Octocell. Outer Spaces is versatile new audio processor, puts your sound in, so it's kind of like a reverb. Grain scanner, design experimental noises. Probably, using these vocal samples within a grain synth would be really pretty useful, because voices have a lot of interesting textures in them naturally. So all of these, you may also like, ideas are experimental really in nature. So it seems to me like they're seeing that the Voice Box is probably more for experimental sound development, and maybe, just adding stabs and accents to existing tracks, like maybe some modern techno or something like that. So let's listen to one of these demos here and see what they sound like. I'm not getting any sound from these. Not sure why that is. Let me check here and see maybe I've got to. Gonna load up my. If y'all are unfamiliar with this software called Loopback, it's pretty awesome. Loopback allows you, at least on a Mac, to kind of send music wherever. And what I've got here is basically a routing mechanism for sending audio from different audio inputs to different audio outputs on my system. Now I should be getting sound through up here, so I need to just check why it is that that's not coming through. So my desktop might go blank for a minute. But never fear, I'm still here. See, that is not, let's see. There we go. Yeah, so Loopback is a great software package if you need some way to kind of creatively route audio within your computer. So now we got that fixed. That was just a bug. Let's listen to some of these demos. All right, so the demos are definitely of an experimental nature. And you know, last week we had talked about the Inspired by Nature. Inspired by Nature pack is got a bunch of different Max for Live devices in it, and a number of those you got to drag a sample in. These vocal samples would probably be pretty cool for that. Let's switch over to my push here, and we will let me see here. Let's go and check out these samples. So if I wanted to go ahead and just kind of browse through, I'm going to go ahead and click browse, go down to packs, and go all the way down to V. It's a long trip for this vocal voice box, and see what they got. So they got audio effects, basic vocal. Gosh, they got a lot of audio effects in here. Samples. Let's check this out. So these actually have keys or notes listed. So they have names here of people. So I guess Fiona is a female vocalist. Humphrey's going to be male. So these are all like just, they're not phrases. Kind of seem like it's just about any pitch and then vowels. Wow. Good range. So these are some synthetic voices. So there are a few things that you know, we could do with this off the top of my head. Let's shut that off. There are a few things that I might do with these kinds of vocal collections. One is just add them as sort of interesting layers into some kind of electronic music piece where you just want to add some vocal element, but you don't really have lyrics. You could, let's look at kind of each one of these examples. So if we wanted to do that, what I would do is I'd go ahead, grab this MIDI, And I would go ahead, let me just take myself off the screen there. So if I went to MIDI and I go to the clip view, I press clip and then browse. Go down to packs, down to voice box, which is the last one. And I'm just going to look at these samples. I liked. All right. So now I actually have a clip. Well, I have a sample anyway. It's loaded into a sampler within this. So I'm going to go in here and just add a real basic drum beat. Just picking a kit, any kit for demo purposes here. Takes a minute to load, I guess. Just a simple beat to start with. And then I can go back here. And I'm actually going to take this this sample here and slice it up. I don't want that one. I'm going to delete this. This whole sample has so I'm going to move the I'm going to delete that one. What I'm trying to do is get down here so that the original sample, which sounds like this, it's got 3 distinctive pitches, right? I want to map those to specific pads. So if I'm in slicing view, I really just want to have 3 slices. So I can just delete these like so. And now I've got 3 slices. I just hit one. I'm going to nudge this one. Nudge this one. Okay, so now I've got them. Now I've got them programmed or sliced properly. I'm going to convert them into a drum rack so that I can sequence them. So I need to tighten up the end on that a bit. So that's a simple way to program kind of like, just sequence basic vocals from that one sample. So you can chop them up in a simpler and then put them on a drum rack, which I like to do with just about any sample that I want to program a part for, just because sequencing on the push is so easy when you have your samples in a drum rack. Of course, if you were in this drum rack, right, and you wanted to go and layer on some other samples, we could see how that works over here in the software. If we went down here, we could open up our pack, voice box, go into samples down here, and I'm going to take a male vocal this time. too much up front. I want a faster attack on the voices. So I could drag those onto these different. So you could even get like cool harmonies. So that's another cool thing you could do with this many vocals, since they are pitched, and you can see that they are set up as like A sharp 1, which is, I never call it A sharp, I'd call it B flat, but you want to, if you wanted to create some harmonizing like this, you could actually do that in here with racks. So if we were to go in, excuse me, if we were to go in here and we wanted to create a new device chain, and in this device chain we wanted to add Philips A1, and then we also wanted to add let's see, take this and we'll add that in there too. Now if you want to get more MIDI through there, or sorry, more, you want to get all these layers. Now you have a harmonized voice. We have both Philip and Nicholas singing the same pitch. And Philip, one of these, Nicholas comes in a little late. So what I might do there is just tighten that up a bit, so they start at the same time. So that's kind of cool, being able to layer up different voices like that. Let's check out some of the instruments that they've got, see what their ideas are for this kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and add a track. And go ahead, MIDI track. And I'm going to load up an instrument from this pack. So they got chromatic voices, harmonic vocals, and vocal percussion. That sounds pretty cool. So these all have the root listed there. So they've kind of done in their instrument rack something that, you know, we were just looking at. If we look at this software and see how they did it, they've got a similar thing going on here where they've got multiple device chains, and when we play, there's a rack, and each one of those, I'll bet, has, so if you look at this, you look at the device chains, you can see how many device chains there are there. They're all sounding out, right? So it was just what we did earlier, what I showed you a minute ago. Having multiple device chains on one pad within the drum rack means there's multiple voice samples firing off at any point in time. Kind of haunting. Kind of a cool vibe. This is over here a really cool new feature of Ableton 11, which is, I think of it as snapshots from the Native Instruments world, but they call it something else. I think they call it variations or something like that. But basically you can tweak all the macros here, and then you can say, oh yeah, macro variations, and then you can save them as your own. So they kind of function like presets, right? So if we were to change that one, change to this preset. Oops. I accidentally moved the... So that's D minor notes, whereas this is D minor phrases. So you'll notice these macros change when you fire off one of these macro variations. These macro variations are really awesome, and there's actually another Max for Live device which I haven't covered before in my streams, but it's called Smooth Automator, I think, and you can have it switch between two values either suddenly or over a period of time, so that it can be used really in a really cool way to create transitions where you have two macro variations. Let's say a real common example of a transition might be that like a filter cutoff closes or opens over the course of 4 bars, right? And so you could have one preset here that represents the cutoff being closed, and one preset that includes the cutoff being open, and then Smooth Automator is a Max for Live plugin that you can get free, and then it allows you to transition between these two over the course of like a bar, 4 bars or whatever. So it's good for building risers or creating sweeps or, you know, cutoff automation, stuff like that, but more of a like performance tool. That could be really cool here, using their macro variations to constantly morph between these vocals. That could be really a nice way to use the voice box. So I'm seeing that, you know, there's a lot of samples, male and female voices, but they're very, you know, because they are just sounds and vowels, they are, you know, there's kind of simplistic. And I think when I think about how I would use them in my music, I would probably just use them as accents, and that would kind of have to be about as good as I could do. Anyway, that's where we are with this, and I'm going to wrap it up there. I think you can see as much as I can how this might be useful for your individual work. And on Monday, I am going to come back, and we will be looking at another one of the Ableton soundbacks on Monday. All right, have a great weekend. Bye.